Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another live edition of the Test.Learn.Grow podcast. My name is Miles Biggs, and I'm your podcast host, or today, moderator of our debate, because the boxing gloves are out, and we're here to talk about what's better, sending paid media traffic to organic web pages or to landing pages. And we've got Brad Stevenson on my left. He's our VP of Group Accounts. Go ahead and wave, Brad, say hi. And then TJ in the red corner here with that awesome shirt is one of our agency's cross-functional team leads, focusing on the B2B vertical. So hello, TJ. And today, Brad and TJ are going to be debating what we've got up here, this long-held difference of opinions amongst marketers about whether or not we should be sending paid media traffic to an organic website or to a landing page. Today, you're going to hear the pros and cons of each from Brad or TJ. They've each chosen a side and are going to argue the pros and offer rebuttals to the other side. And then after those exchanges, we're going to drop the facade here, and we'll talk about what we really think, not just the sort of textbook argument here. And of course, make space for your questions, those of you watching. If you ever want to engage, you have a question for a panelist, you want to offer your 2 cents on this topic, please use the comments wherever you're watching this, and we can throw them in. Here's a great example. Shout out. Hello to Paul Wilson. Thank you for watching. You could be like Paul's face here and be brought right into the stream. We love you right back, Paul. Thank you for being here. All right. So with that, guys, let's get started. And we're going to kick it off with.
Yeah, and I do appreciate you saying drop the act. I think it's important for everybody here to know. If you watch this for 5 minutes and then leave and think, man, that guy, I don't know what that guy was talking about. So these debate formats, I will say at Level, we like the debate formats because it gives us an opportunity to sometimes play devil's advocate. It sometimes gives us an opportunity to empathize around, long-held beliefs, for instance, and really dig into issues, even if we don't necessarily truly believe. So we like the debate format where it's like, hey, regardless of what you think, go do some research, build your case for this. And so it's really fun. So I think that's Miles, I just wanted to set that up, that we've been using this debate format as a learning opportunity, as a curiosity opportunity within the agency. And it's just really fun.
Yeah. So with that, you teeing yourself up. Brad, you got to make the case for organic websites.
Yeah.
Go for it.
All right, here we go. Has there ever been a marketing team that isn't strapped for time? A marketing team with enough time to do everything its company expects it to do is like Brigadoon or Bigfoot, a myth, a legend. Still, we've all heard the argument my opponent is likely about to make. If you want to drive conversions effectively, you need a dedicated landing page for every campaign, every message, every possible paid traffic scenario imaginable. But that is just not feasible, especially when your resources are limited. I am here today to tell you that it's perfectly fine and sometimes preferable to send paid traffic to your organic website's homepage. Now, of course, TJ here is going to tell you things like research shows that businesses with 10 to 15 landing pages tend to increase conversions by 55% compared to those with fewer than 10 landing pages. And those with more than 40 landing pages increase conversions by over 500%. And that's because he wants you to pay him and his team to build and manage a complex landing page ecosystem. Sure, giant companies with extensive testing budgets can develop 20 to 30 landing pages and create testing roadmaps for each of them. But what are you spending per month on digital advertising? On average, medium-sized B2B business, for instance, spends what? Between $5,000 and $10,000 per month? While only about 27% of a company's traffic comes from paid sources. However, more than 53% of all traffic typically comes through a website's homepage on average. In addition, twice as much revenue is generated from organic search than any other channel. In addition to that, most landing pages use subdomains, which don't help your website's SEO at all. Google and other search engines essentially see them as separate sites, so traffic to these subdomains does nothing for your domain authority. And if you're concerned about personalized experiences based on user searches, consider delivering dynamic content on your homepage based on UTM parameters. For those of you who don't know, UTMs are those short strings of text you can add to a URL to track campaign performance. Well, imagine if you're a food company and someone has searched for vegetarian options. You could have a paid search campaign that adds a UTM parameter for veggie content and shows specific homepage content blocks for these users. Much easier to manage and maintain than a bunch of specific landing pages. So my argument today is this: invest your time and your resources in creating a killer homepage experience with great content, clear differentiators, proof points like testimonials and awards, and easy to complete lead capture forms, and consider personalized content using things like UTM parameters. Send all of your traffic here and set up a strong, disciplined conversion rate optimization roadmap to grow leads from all channels. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Brad. TJ,
Good
your
luck,
response?
TJ.
What was that last part, Brad?
I said good luck.
Well, thank you for that. Brad, thanks for laying that all out. And honestly, you do bring up a lot of good talking points and things that, we hear from our clients and prospects all the time. But, I'm here in the red corner today to tell you it's not just fine to send all of your paid media traffic to your homepage. Yes, there may be some very specific circumstances where it makes sense to drive traffic to your homepage. For example, a generic branded trade name search. If you're Nike and someone searches for just the term Nike, probably makes sense to drive them to the homepage. It's a very broad, generic search, and you want to send that user to the most broad, generic place you have about your company, and that's your company's homepage. However, the goal of the majority of our paid media campaigns is normally to drive a conversion. We want that user to take a specific action. So with that being said, that place more times than not will be a dedicated focused landing pages on that action that we want that user to take, whether it's things like schedule a demo, download a white paper, register for a webinar, so on and so forth. So, with that in mind, I wanted to take a few minutes, to address some of the concerns around landing pages that I heard from Brad, and also talk about the benefits of a dedicated landing pages outside of the awesome stat that Brad already threw out of a 50% better conversion rate using dedicated landing pages versus just sending traffic to your homepage. So one of the first things that I heard from Brad here was marketing teams are strapped for time. Not wrong there. 100% we're strapped for time. If you're listening to this debate or you've listened to previous episodes of the Test.Learn.Grow podcast, you're probably looking for ways for you yourself or your marketing team to be more efficient and save more time. But building out dedicated landing pages doesn't need to be this overly time-consuming process that Brad is laying out. Many programs like HubSpot, Marketo, Unbounce, whatever you're using to build landing pages, have great out-of-the-box templates for your team to use right away, easily customize your content, get things into market quickly, and then scale from there. Yes, it's still going to take a little bit of time to do these things, but wouldn't we want to spend a little bit more time on the upfront to drastically improve our conversion rates, get more leads into our sales pipeline right away? Another thing I heard from Brad, SEO value, custom experiences, all things that come up every day when we're talking to our clients. We as marketers, when we're thinking about SEO, we should be thinking about our main website. And yes, the dedicated landing pages for our paid media campaigns may not be impacting that. However, it's important to remember that the focus of those landing pages are conversion machines. We want those landing pages to turn prospects into leads and potentially customers, and have a separate SEO plan for our main website. And then when we're thinking about custom experiences, Brad is also right that there are ways to have customized elements on your homepage. However, we're really just scratching the surface there if that's the only custom experience you're going to have from your dedicated paid media campaigns. Having dedicated landing pages focused around a certain product, a certain call to action gives your prospect a much better customized experience and will lead to more conversions, as we've talked about. So with that in mind, Miles, Brad, also want to touch on, a couple of the other advantages of using landing pages that we haven't talked about yet. So one, quality score on Google, super important. Having a dedicated landing page allows us as marketers to have much better alignment from keyword to ad to landing page, leading to a better quality score. And why is a better quality score important? It's going to lead to things like a better ad rank, your ad showing up higher on the page, higher click-through rates, cheaper clicks, saving money for your marketing team, and maximizing your marketing dollars. Another advantage of landing pages, testing. Having dedicated landing pages allows you to more easily test copy, creative, form placement, layout, all of those things. Imagine if you had to update your homepage every time you wanted to test form placement, test copy, things like that. And, to harken back to our SEO value, if we're updating the content of our homepage every 2 weeks, every month, in order to test for our paid media campaigns, we're inherently going to be shooting ourselves in the foot and ultimately hurting our overall SEO value. And then the last thing here, dedicated landing pages keeps the user focused. There are minimal distractions. Homepage, there's so many different things for your user to interact with. Taking a look at all your products, your About Us page, history, news, blogs, it's going to really drop your conversion rate. And ultimately, this is what we want the users to do, is take a specific action. So, in closing here, a homepage is not a landing page. Home pages are the gateway to the rest of your site. They're for users in the awareness stage, which makes, copywriting difficult on a homepage and then difficult to test. But then landing pages are purpose-built conversion machines. They follow an optimized set of design principles, squeezing out every sign-up, opt-in, sale possible that we want from our paid media campaigns.
All right. Yeah, absolutely. So, I did plant a couple data points, TJ, in your favor. I dropped them right out there. I will say one thing is you mentioned testing on the home page of your website. Now there are, as you know, TJ, there are tools like Google Optimize if you want to be very, cost effective, or all the way up to extensive tools like VWO that you can implement on your website to run tests. So the argument that you're changing your website all the time to run tests is completely invalid. You can absolutely run tests using tools like those. The other thing is, if you are spread thin, I have seen a lot of really, really bad underperforming landing pages because people think I have to have a landing page for every campaign. And what results from that is somebody who is stretched thin, or a small team stretched too thin, who is trying to produce a lot of content across a lot of pages, and those pages are completely ineffective. So, with limited time, limited capacity, you've got this management and maintenance nightmare. Yes, sure, in the upfront, if you spend the time, you can build out these landing pages, you can build out this ecosystem. But over time, the technical debt and the maintenance required can quickly and easily get out from under you. You can have brand issues if you don't have a good control over what landing pages are actually out there. A lot of people don't even know what display ads they have running. They get surprised by it, right? So you can imagine putting more and more things out there into the ecosystem becomes more of a brand and management and maintenance nightmare. So, my argument is, if you have a good homepage, if you've got some dynamic content, and you've got a good test plan and conversion rate optimization plan in place, you can be just as effective running your paid traffic, regardless of where that traffic and those people sit in your journey to your website's homepage.
Thanks, Brad. Yeah, and things that we hear a lot, right? So your first point here around the homepage, Google Optimize, other tools to customize the experience of the homepage. Sure, spot on there. However, it's going to be very difficult to leverage tools like Google Optimize for every single call to action and thing and every layout that you want to see possible. So, for example, you could imagine different call outs, different things that you would want on a page for a webinar or an event registration versus a product, versus reaching out to your sales team and things like that. And that dovetails, into your other point in terms of the maintenance of the landing pages. It is important that when building these things out, your brand right, you're keeping track of all of these things. But it's important that before we start building landing pages, we build out a roadmap of what we want those landing pages to be. So I heard you mention that we need a new specific landing page for every paid media campaign. That's not necessarily the case, right? We could come up with a couple of templates out of the gate that cover a couple key areas. So again, webinar registration could be one. Scheduling a demo with sales could be a template for another. So we're talking, 3, 5, 7 landing pages to maintain, not 50, 100 landing pages, and having this complex ecosystem that you speak of.
I have no further comment.
You're gonna say,
No further comment.
felt like the curtain closed, and now you guys have to come out and take a bow and say, "Hello, this is actually me now, not this role I've been playing." So it's obvious, right? There's good points on either end of this fight. I mean, both of you are very convincing and raised good arguments. You're about to go, Brad. I think you want to speak up the most to say, I believe something different.
I mean, so I think I actually very much like taking the side of these things that I don't believe in. I think I recently did a debate in New York with one of our creative partners and their teams at a happy hour event with one of our owners, Patrick Van Gorder, and we argued display, direct buy versus programmatic, and I took the direct side, even though I didn't necessarily believe in the direct buys from an efficiency and targeting standpoint. So it's fun for me to dig into those sides because it does help us kind of shore up our thinking around the long-held beliefs that we have in digital marketing, right? Like, so if you ask any digital marketer right now, should I be delivering paid traffic to landing pages? I'd be like, absolutely. Now, our definition of what a landing page is might change though, right? So when we talk about the organic website, TJ, you mentioned event registrations, right? Well, you might have a really good event section of your website with that event listing, and you could drive that paid traffic to that event section or page of that website. Now, the point of the landing page is it kind of traps people a little bit. So you're limiting exploration and additional information. So I think the overall point that we want to make, though, is whether you're sending paid traffic or any traffic, to an organic website, your main marketing site, or a landing page experience. The point is you're customizing the experience based on what they're looking for and where they are in the cycle, in the journey with you. If they are not aware of you, you might want to send them, as TJ mentioned, to your website because there's more exploration there if you've got a good website experience. If you are further down the funnel and you really want them to sign up for something and they know who you are at that point, then that becomes more of a gated sort of walled approach where you don't want them kind of bouncing around. You really, really want to drive that action. So I think at the end of the day, TJ and I are both proponents of send people to a place where they can get what they're looking for and that you have a clear action for them to take once they're there.
Yeah. And then Brad, I think you're spot on. And with that, being intentional about how we're going to market with things and, to keep up with the theme. What are we going to test? What are we going to learn and then grow from there, right? So, we talked about landing pages today being this, singular place. User can't navigate anywhere else. We're keeping them focused on, this, download or whatever it may be. But it's important as we're thinking about other campaigns, if it's a product-based campaign and there are great product pages on your website, that could 100% serve as your landing page for a paid media campaign. I talked about Nike in my example, right? If someone is searching for Nike men's running shoes and you as Nike have a great product page on Nike men's running shoes, yes, send folks there and no need to, to Brad's point, spin up a separate, different product landing page that is now outside of your website ecosystem when there's already something that is inherently conversion based that makes sense for that campaign.
And TJ, it's also obviously very industry specific, right? You're talking about e-commerce when you get into running shoes and those direct purchases. And as from an e-commerce standpoint, typically, unless you really have like a singular product or in e-commerce, you typically set up a sales funnel approach, right? If you've got a smaller set of SKUs, you might send them to one thing and then have upsells along the way. We've experienced this, right? We've all experienced this, right? You have an Instagram thing where somebody's selling some miraculous like water hose attachment or something. You're like, oh man, I got to get that. And then you go through this funnel with them, right? Where it's like, I'm going to get this, but if I get another one, it's 50% off. Oh, I got to add that one. Oh, and there's also like an umbrella for my backyard that I can get today only, And so that's the approach with the funnel of an e-commerce experience where you might have like a more of a walled approach. But if you are a store and somebody is searching for, home delivery of meal kits or something like that, then that's when you would just send them to a specific product category, maybe, or even your main page if you've got a lot of great offers there and things like that. So it's industry specific. And I know, TJ, you head up our B2B, one of our B2B teams. And so that is where that experience of the landing pages is incredibly impactful.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%, especially on the B2B side, right? Conversations that we're having with clients all the time. If we're getting into, nuances of a specific product or a specific offering around something that, isn't on the website already, or it doesn't make sense to be on the website, we are probably building out more landing pages for those specific use cases. Other thought leadership pieces, we talked about, spec sheets, content downloads, other things like that, where we don't want that stuff living on our website. But if someone is searching for a specific function of a SaaS platform or something like that, we have a dedicated landing page built around that specific search, exactly what the user is looking for, and then giving them a specific call to action, whether that's to get in touch with sales, download this to learn more. And then we're still able to give the users, more content, on the thank you page or things like that, once we've gotten that ultimate conversion that we're looking for from our paid media campaigns.
Is it always black and white? Is it always one or the other? Or is there ever a time where you do a couple campaigns to the organic site and a couple others to landing pages?
So TJ, I know I think you can speak to this really well, but one of our framework here at Level is Test.Learn.Grow. And we also never sort of rest on our laurels or on, I mentioned like the long held beliefs, right? I think that, I always like to go back to the testing approach. If a brand comes to us and they have a killer website experience that is maybe a little more limited in, like, they don't have 150,000 pages because they build a page every time they need to appease somebody on their executive team or something like that, those things can get out of hand. But if they've got a really, really nice web experience, a homepage experience or website experience that provides a lot of great content, and we're sort of at that part of the funnel where we're like, well, I don't know, maybe this limited landing page experience might not perform as well. I encourage people to ask those questions and run a test, because in the digital space, it's easy to run that split test 50-50. You could even run 80-20 if you're like, I really believe the landing page is going to be better, but I at least want to have that testing of some of the traffic to the homepage experience or a part of my website. So I would say test it. Not every time. If it's really about that lower funnel conversion, you're doing remarketing campaigns or something like that, you really want to get those leads, you really want those conversions. You have more of a sense that that's going to work on like a landing page controlled experience. But if you look at places like HubSpot, some of these other companies, they typically send people to their websites. It's just a page of their website. Maybe they're talking about a specific product set or set of features for a product or something like that, where they feel like that's going to work really well. Again, it's about encouraging people to go to the place to get the information they're looking for, first and foremost. So that would be my comment, TJ. And I know you have some experience directly with some of our clients in running these types of tests. And sometimes the website is one.
Yep. And Miles, to answer your question, rarely do I think it's as black and white as do this, do that. And to Brad's point, we should be testing and, testing our assumptions. And the reason why, as Brad mentioned, like that these debates are fun, it allows us to test our assumptions, things that we've looked at over the years, and we might have gotten the same results, but like, hey, it's worth taking a look at it again, or it's worth looking at these things differently. To use one of our client-specific example, we had this great landing page for over a year that was a webinar library for one of our clients that they had monthly webinars. Every month we would add it there. One would be ungated. We would send paid media traffic there for all of the reasons that I just talked about, right? But after thinking about it for a while, myself, a couple other members on the team was like, hey, we have a lot of great content now just kind of buried in this dedicated landing page. and it probably makes sense to test putting this on the website to get some SEO value out of some of these older webinars where we don't have any campaigns running for these webinars from a year or so ago, but they still inherently have a lot of value to the business. So what we did, we tested building, a content library page on the website. And over the last couple of months, we've seen that, be a tide that has lifted all ships. So we still send paid media traffic there, right? Because we have our conversion point there. But we have all this, tranche of historical thought leadership data that is building some SEO value. So if someone is looking for a very niche specific thing for this client, and we did a webinar for it 16 months ago, we're popping up towards the top of the page, and now people are digesting that content on our client's website. So it's always important to be thinking about how we could be leveraging these things, differently, looking at them at a different light, and maximizing the value out of, landing pages or our product pages.
And TJ, you mentioned value, and so Miles, I want to say something that I've said on our podcast before, but when we think about our creative, we think about it as performance creative, and that includes landing page experiences. And when I say performance creative, we think about all ads creating value or being very relevant, building trust, and inspiring action. And that should be sort of the checklist, the sniff test that people take when they're looking at a landing page experience. Does this create value for someone based on the design thinking work I've done, the understanding of who the audience is? Does this create the value for them that I expect it to create and that they're looking for? Is it relevant to them and who they are against their values, against what they're seeking, against what their needs are and their challenges? And then do you build trust there? Is there a video with social proof? Is there a testimonial? Are there accreditations? Are there logos? Are there certifications? Whatever that is, are there star ratings? Do you have a lot of the proof points there? And at the end of the day, are you inspiring action? Inspiring action maybe for B2B, you have a very valuable thing that if you give us your contact information, you're going to get access to this. You're going to get access to one of our support people who will help you through an audit process or something. Or is it you get 50% off today? So whatever that inspirational piece is to make them take that action. That's kind of the way that we kind of sniff test when we're looking at ads or landing page experiences.
Yeah, and something when you talk about value, I think we touched on this a little bit. I think TJ, you brought up the Opti score, but I'd love if you guys could go into details around how that creates value for the advertiser. Meaning, I know the better the Opti score, you get a preference in the auction of these things. It could potentially be paying less, right? So if you're sending everybody to one generic page and the page isn't aligned with what your ad's saying, the Opti score is off. So because you're like so staunch in your position, like I'm only doing this one thing, you could actually be costing yourself money in addition to inhibiting customers from taking action. But I'd love it if you guys could dig into that a little bit more, because I think it's a lesser known part of this whole equation.
Yeah, TJ, you mentioned quality score during your piece, so.
Yeah, so a lot of us as marketing teams, we're operating on a limited budget, right? The budget isn't infinite. So as we're looking things, a little bit more behind the curtain, specifically for the team that's executing on things, how can we be more efficient with our clients' dollars or our own dollars, whatever the case may be, and building out specific landing pages to enhance your quality score is a great way of doing that, right? So, at a high level, the way it works is, Google is looking at, the keyword that you're bidding on. How does that relate to the copy that's in your ad? And then how does that relate to what's on your landing page, right? So, we always joke internally, if you have something on your ad, like free iPads, right? You're going to get a lot of clicks, but that's not your keyword, right? No one's going to convert and your quality score is going to be trash, right? We don't want that. We want the keyword to be present in our ad copy, and then be present again in our landing page. So when Google is looking at these things, it's like, all right, the person searched for this, they're seeing this in the ad, and now they're seeing this on the landing page. This inherently looks like a good experience. There are other things that come into play there, but it's just at a high level that is going to allow us to pay less per click, and then being able to maximize our dollars. Brad, I think you threw out the stat, like a lot of B2B marketing teams might only be spending $5,000, $10,000 a month. So if we could be saving 50 cents, $1 a click, that is going to add up quickly. We're going to be able to serve more ads to more folks and get more folks on our landing pages. And hopefully that leads to, more leads and more customers for our business.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly what the stat is about improving quality score by point, but there is something astronomical between getting from like a 3 or 4 quality score to like a 5. You don't have to be a 10, and this is a 1 to 10 scale. You don't have to be a 10, but if you're at a 2 or a 3 and you can get to a 6 or a 7, your costs are going to drop significantly, not just in the click, but ultimately you're going to see that all the way through to even your cost per sale. So it's really, really a critical factor. And whether you're sending people to a landing page or you're sending people to your website, again, if somebody searches for gardening equipment and you send them to a page with dog food, Google is your costs are going to go up and up and up.
Be the craziest gardening equipment I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just terrible marketing. Right?
Yeah.
Call it what it is.
Yeah.
But it's out there, right? Otherwise that example wouldn't exist.
Yeah. I mean, then, yeah.
Well, I feel like we covered the sides. So final words from either one of you on this topic before we part ways?
TJ?
Just to jump in, we touched on it a little bit. When approached with this question, right, it's important to think strategically about it, right? What is the end goal? What campaigns are we talking about, right? Every paid media campaign is not the same. So what's the goal of the campaign? What do we want the user to do? Thinking about, does it make sense to drive someone to a specific page on the website, not just the homepage, as we, started to talk about, and then put together a plan from there. I will say more times than not, especially in the B2B space, a dedicated landing page probably makes sense to better control that experience and keep that user focused on that call to action, whatever we want them to do. That doesn't mean we should be doing that every time. It should mean we should be evaluating what we want the input to be and making that decision, and ultimately testing and learning from those results.
Yeah, I think ditto all that, TJ. And really for me, it's do you understand your audience? Do you truly know who they are and what they're seeking, what they're looking for? And are you making the connection clearly in the ads you're presenting and the destination, whatever that destination is? Are you making the connection between the challenge and the thing that they're seeking and what you're offering to them? And I agree that in most cases, if you're lower in the funnel or later in the journey, however you like to talk about it, it does make sense to keep that more of a controlled environment.
I appreciate both your time and your research powers to build those arguments today. That was fun to watch and be a part of. Thanks to everybody that watched live. And if you're watching it afterwards too, thanks for doing that. And I've had this ticker up the whole time, but if you guys are watching this now or later and you want to talk more about this, as you can tell, we're very passionate about it and we'd love to talk to you. You can shoot this number a text with your email address and we'll reach out. We'd love to look at your specific strategies for this and talk about any opportunities to improve what you got going on. So until next time, everybody, remember to test, learn, and grow.
Thanks, Miles. Thanks, TJ.
Thanks, Al.
Bye.